Hey, this is truly Jacob, a writer. Again, this is my pen slash media name. So I'm gonna give, um, I'm sort of gonna do a summary of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis in a different way. So there are pictures in here, so we're gonna go through and I'm gonna try to summarize the story based on the pictures. So it tells, like, I'm not good at reading Roman numerals. So it's like, this is how many chapters there are. It took um, when I check out a book, it's like I get like two renewals. So it takes me about I go through three things. So, okay. So, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. So, the kids got sent to the professor's house, and the wardrobe is in this one room, and the kids were playing. Lucy was playing hide and seek in there, and hiding in there, and she discovered Narnia through the wardrobe. She went all the way to the back, and there was coats and hangers, and she came out, and she found the lampstand, and she ended up going to Mr. Thomas's house. And he was going to turn her into the evil queen that made it winter there all the time. And there was no Christmas. So here is his house. It looks snug, and he played some kind of musical thing, and it put her to sleep, and she was there for hours, and he felt really guilty that he was going to turn her into the queen, the evil witch queen, and he changed his mind and brought her back to the lamp post, and they were okay, and she went back through the wardrobe. So the second time, again, the story made a point that every time they went through the wardrobe, it was rainy in the main land where they lived, because there was war going on, and that's why they got sent to be with the professor's house. So there were four kids. Peter was the oldest, then Susan, and then Edmund, and then Lucy's the youngest. So Lucy discovered Narnia first. Then Edmund noticed that the wardrobe was a little bit open, and so he went in, but he didn't catch up with Lucy, didn't know where Lucy went, and so he was in Narnia by himself. Well, he, instead of meeting Mr. Thomas, he met the evil Queen Jardis, and she gave him an enchanted delicacy, Turkish delights. And he was already having problems at school and getting into trouble and stuff. So he was developing evil tendencies or wicked tendencies or becoming mean. So the Turkish delight, he just wanted it because it probably smelled so good, and she gave him something to drink too. And you can see there's a dwarf, and the dwarf, she used magic to make it out of snow, but it basically put some kind of curse on him to like lie and become more evil and stuff like that, or more wicked, or do harmful things to others in some way. And so he didn't really realize it, but if he had eaten too many Turkish delights, it would have killed him and stuff like that. So she only gave him enough to demonstrate some kind of fake nice gesture of like, yeah, I'm on your side. And she promised Edmund, you're gonna be a king and everything. But there's this prophecy about 4 children coming to Narnia and becoming kings and queens. And like, she had a conversation with them, and so she realized, oh, you have 3 other siblings, or there's three other children, sons of Adam's, daughters of Eve, the combination of all 4. And so she sent Edmund to go back home and be like, okay, when you have them come in, bring them to my castle and I'll make you all kings and queens. Or like, she didn't say that, but she's like, I'll make you a king. But she was basically lying to him. Again, here's the thing that he got, the drink. And I guess they didn't show a picture of the Turkish delight. Okay, so so basically Lucy ended up finding Edmund in Narnia. He didn't know how to get back home. And so Lucy told them all, like, oh, yeah, like, he went to Narnia too. He went through the wardrobe. And so Lucy was telling the truth. She had been telling the truth the whole entire time when they were getting into fights and everything. And so, like, Peter and Susan are talking to the professor, and the professor's like, well, if Lucy was the honest one the majority of the time, like, why would have all of a sudden she lie? And if Edmund has been the one to lie in the past, why are you believing, like, Edmund over Lucy? Because they had never gone through a wardrobe or to another reality or another land before through some kind of porthole. So they didn't think it could be done, so they had a hard time believing Lucy. So but on the sunny days and stuff, because they were there in the summer, they were out, you know, playing in the countryside. And what do you know? Another rainy day came, and they went to Narnia, and Lucy took them to Mr. Thomas's house. But when Edmund was here, he remembered Mr. Thomas's name. And so, because the queen was asking him a whole bunch of questions, literally, Edmund caused Mr. Thomas to get into trouble, and his whole house and everything was crushed, and everything was gone, and there was a note saying he was treacherous. So, like, this is, I guess, the note. To the former occupant of these premises, the Fawn Thomas is under arrest and awaiting his trial on a charge of high treason against the Imperial Majesty Jardis, Queen of Narnia. Chatelaine of Cair Paravel, Empress of the Lone Islands, etc., also of comforting her and her Majesty's enemies, harboring spies, and fraternizing with humans. Signed, Magram, Captain of the Secret Police. Long live the Queen. So later in the book, you find out that Magonum is actually a wolf. So, and again, animals talked in Narnia, but animals didn't talk in their land. So they found this note, and it seemed like this bird was telling them to go somewhere. So Peter, Susan, Lucy and Edmund followed the bird, but they didn't know if they could trust the bird, but they ended up being able to trust the bird. And they ended up going to the Beaver's house, Mr. and Mrs. Beaver, and the dam wasn't finished 100% yet, and there was leaks in the dam somewhere. So, and Mrs. Beaver knew how to sew, and they took them in and fed them all. But Edmund was off the whole time because he wanted to go to the White Queen's castle because he believed what the queen said, that she would make him a king, because he didn't understand the prophecy that in Narnia there was a prophecy that there would be 4 children, and they would come in, or they would be sons, or it may not have been declared that they would be children, but it would be declared that they would be sons of Adam and daughters of Eve, and there would be 4 of them, and they would be kings and queens in Narnia for a time and bring peace to the land. So they're all sitting around talking about Narnia and Aslan and stuff like that, and then Edmund sneaks out and leaves. So here's the prophecy. When Adam's flesh and Adam's bones sits on Cair Paravel throne, the evil time will be over and done. And so Edmund, because he wanted the Turkish delights, and even though the Mr. and Mrs. Beaver gave him good food and everything, he wanted those Turkish delights, because again, that curse was put on him by eating them from an evil individual, because she enchanted it. And so he went off to go find the queen. And so Peter, Susan, and Lucy are all calling for him, and they realize he's gone, and so now they have to make plans to run, because it's like, oh, he's gonna tell them where they are and everything, because he doesn't believe for some reason that the queen's evil. Again, she was making it winter all the time, and so you see him finding his way back to go to the evil queen's castle. And she didn't get elected, she demanded that she be queen. So Edmund, he goes to her castle, and he sees stone statues of different individuals, and they are so close to looking like lifelike that when he sees this wolf or dog in the entryway guarding, he thought it was just another statue laying across the ground, and then the wolf moved, and so he almost got in serious trouble. And so he was like, well, the queen wanted me to tell her when my brother and sisters came to Narnia and everything. And so they relayed the message, but he was really in trouble. And Mrs. Beaver, instead of fleeing right away, she's like, we're gonna get hungry, and she started packing food up and bread and stuff so they would have something to eat on their journey, because they're going to the stone table, because that's what the prophecy said. And Edmund began to realize the queen was never going to make him a king. And so he asked for Turkish delights, and the Turkish delight again would have killed him. So instead of giving this child what he really wanted, Edmund, she was like, here, have something to drink and have bread. And the bread was stale, and he had trouble swallowing it, but he ate it. And the dwarf again was on her side. And so what ended up happening is Father Christmas came and prepared a feast for Mr. and Mrs. Beaver and Susan and Edmund and stuff, because like this is a picture showing how like this is how Christmas would have been, and Father Christmas would give people different gifts. And it's like, so they found a place to sleep. They kept walking and walking and walking, and they found a place to sleep. And then Father Christmas came and gave them, gifts and stuff. So, and here the White Witch has her reindeer and her sled, and it's winter, and they're trying to go and, stop the children from getting to the stone table and stuff like that. But the snow and everything melted, so they had to start walking by foot because basically spring came. So what ended up happening is Peter from Father Christmas got a shield and a sword. Susan got bows and arrows. And something else, but I forget what it was. And then Lucy got a cordial that could heal people if they were near death, and it was harvested from the mountains on the sun or something like that. So that is an interesting idea, that there could be mountains on a sun and plants on the actual sun, and you could harvest like food or healing medicine from the sun. And Lucy got a dagger. So that was cool. The gifts from Father Christmas. And Mr. Beaver, he got the gift of Father Christmas finished the dam and made it so there were no more leaks anywhere in the dam. And Mrs. Beaver got an updated, better sewing machine. So, again, there hadn't been Christmas in Narnia for a very long time, so they had Christmas real quick, and then spring came rather fast, because all the snow melted. So, you can see that this is Aslan, and there was like this mini battle. I would call it a mini battle. It wasn't really like a huge battle, but basically the wolf Magum came, tried to kill Susan. Oh yeah, Susan got the horn. So she blew the horn because she had it with her, and like people knew to come to their aid. And what am I trying to say? So Peter ended up having to kill the wolf Magum, which was the secret police or whatever. And then the queen got news that happened. And I don't remember what this is about. But there were animals or individuals on the queen side, and there was more on the Aslan side. Because Aslan, again, was the lion that, like, sung Narnia into existence. And the queen was trying to claim it was hers. So they ended up rescuing Edmund. He was going to be killed. In the nick of time, they found him, and he was spared. His life was spared. But the queen was like, there's deeper magic, and she was like, well, he's a traitor, and someone has to die for the sake of the traitor. So Aslan gave a promise that he would give his life for Edmund. and he volunteered. But he wasn't happy about it because he would have to die. So Lucy and Susan, like, the mood changed of Aslam, and he wasn't very happy because who wants to die? And so, like, Lucy and Susan followed him, and they couldn't bear to watch him actually be killed, but they, like, were witnesses, and they saw what happened. They put they tied up the lion, and in another chapter, they ended up putting a muzzle over his nose and mouth and everything, and bound him with cords. And the witch took out a weird looking knife and killed Aslam on the stone table. They dragged him to the stone table and killed him. And when it was clear, eventually they left. And then when it was clear, Susan and Lucy, they went to Aslam, and mice, they took the muzzle off Aslam, and then the cords were actually so tight that they couldn't get the cords off. But the mice freed Aslam the lion, and the court, Aslam was free. And then they looked away for like a second or a few seconds, and then they looked back, and the stone table was like, there was a crack in it from end to end. And then the next thing they knew, they heard Aslam, but they were like, is Aslam a ghost? And then they found out he wasn't a ghost, and they had a long journey. And they ended up going to the queen's snow castle, or wherever it was, and Aslam leaped over the wall, and he breathed life back into the statues, broke the curse, and all these different individuals that were a statue, and there was a giant, they came back to life, and they were all happy, and they were jumping and leaping, and there was another lion that lived in Narnia, and Aslam didn't make him more important than that lion, because it's like, oh, we have to go and find the battle, and we need all the help of all the bigger animals to carry the smaller animals to get there faster and everything. And so the lion was like, he included me in with us, and so he respected Aslam in a deeper way, because it's like, oh, you care about me too. You consider me a lion, okay? So then they ended up coming in, and the battle wasn't going so good. There were a bunch of individuals that were statues, and so, like, Aslam came in, and then, like, they got rid of the queen, they killed a bunch of the enemy, and they found out that Edmund was the one that really helped save some of the battle, because he had the idea of, like, taking his sword and smacking the wand, the magical wand, because that was what the evil queen was using to turn everyone into stone. So he got rid of the wand and wrecked it so that she couldn't do that anymore. But by the time that he did that, there were so many lost Narnians in the battle that they were barely hanging on. And then Aslam shows up with all these extra people, and they, what's the word I'm looking for? The battle was over in like 5 minutes after Aslam showed up. And then Edmund was deeply wounded, so Aslan reminded Lucy, hey, you have this healing cordial. So she put a few drops in her brother's mouth, and then Aslan commanded her to go to the other individuals who were on the brink of death and heal them as well. And then she came back, and Edmund was better. He looked way better than he had been when he went to the horrible school, where it began to have him become angry and mad and stuff like that. So then they went on a journey to Cair Paravel, where the castle was, and Aslan made them become kings and queens of Narnia. So it was like, live King Peter, long live Queen Susan, long live King Edmund, and long live Queen Lucy. And Aslan went away because he had other countries that he visited, and you never know when he's gonna come and go, but he always comes back. And so King Peter, Queen Susan, King Edmund, and Queen Lucy, they grew up and they made alliances with other countries nearby. And then when they grew up, like, other individuals wanted to marry them, and they wanted to marry Queen Susan and Queen Lucy. And then a white stag came, and they wanted to hunt the white stag. So they went and they found the lamppost again, and they remembered how to, like, they went through branches and stuff, and they came out of the wardrobe, and they talked to the professor, and like, will we ever go to Narnia again? He didn't think they were crazy, and he's like, you will all go to Narnia again. But like, they turned back into being children, and it was like no time had passed and no one entered the room, because that's why they were hiding in the wardrobe in the first place, is because someone that lived with the professor was showing people the house, and she wanted the children out of the way. So that's kind of how it ended. That's like the summary. This is spoilers. It was a good read. I felt like the moral lessons that you get out of this are more of, sometimes when individuals are older than you, it can get to their head like, I'm older. So like, if someone that's younger is telling the truth, like, sometimes certain individuals won't listen to the younger person, because someone who's a little bit older than you could be like, well, I have more knowledge than you. I know everything. You need to listen to me. And so instead of looking at the consistency of of the individual, like, does this individual the majority of the time tell the truth, then why all of a sudden do you think they're telling you a lie? Because it's hard to believe that that this could actually happen. So that could happen with other things, But the thing I like about Edmund's story is, initially, it's like he met the wrong person when he went to Narnia. And that meeting that one wrong person, the evil queen, led him down this really bad path where he became kind of vain, where he's like, I want to be king, and I want to be more important than my brother Peter, because they were fighting and stuff like that. So he didn't respect his older brother. But like, he got saved from the queen. His eyes were open, like, oh, this individual doesn't care about me at all. And so one of the things that the book pointed out is like, let the past be the past, and you don't always have to like talk about it and bring it up over and over again. Let the past be the past. And so it's like the kids were able to become friends again. And so Edmund went to battle with with Peter. And even though Edmund went through this horrible experience with the queen because he realized the queen was evil and was lying about everything she told him, he was able to like make amends and make a difference and learn from his experience. And it said in the end that Edmund became the one in the kingdom, that he was like King Edmund the Just. So it's like he was good because he understood like how evil the queen was, because he experienced it more fully. And he was, a rope was tied around him, and he was like walking around worse than a slave, because technically the queen was like, the dwarf was like, are you my counselor or are you my slave? And she's like, you're my slave, not my counselor. And so the dwarf was really a slave, but tried to be a counselor to the queen. And yeah. And then she was going to kill Edmund, even though he did what she pretty much wanted him to do. So she was just lying the whole time. So his eyes were open and he got redemption and he became a just king. But again, Peter was designated as the high king because he was pretty much the oldest and he had more years of experience, like a few more years of experience than the younger children. So it's like Narnia for a time became super peaceful while they were kings and queens in Narnia, these 4 sibling children. And then they went back home. So we'll see what happens in the next book, which is The Horse and His Boy. But it's definitely an interesting read. If you have kids, is this a book you would want your kids to read? And would you be able to find the moral lessons out of these stories or any other story that you want your kids to read or your kids want to read? So feel free to comment in the comment section below if there's books that your kids found interesting or you found interesting when you were kids. And if you like this video, feel free to like and subscribe to this channel. Until next time, enjoy. Again, side note, I got this book from the library for free, so I didn't have to buy the book. So, until next time.